and a very warm welcome to you all in this first ever Sharu Rangnekar Memorial Lecture and L&D Awards. I heartily welcome our National President, Dr. Nataraj Ray, National Vice President, Daniel Kurian, National Treasurer, Salil Chatterjee, Professor Emeritus T.V. Rao, President Emeritus P.R. Birmani is about to join, our Chairman of the Awards Committee, Dr. Shravan Mukherjee, Professor Emeritus Mr. Benwat, all the NC members, OB members, ISTT members, and all the distinguished guests, diploma students. I'm indeed grateful to Dr. Swati Advani, who is the daughter of Professor Rangnekar, and especially has joined from California. It is 6 a.m. So we have woken her up in the morning. Welcome you, ma'am. So I welcome all the distinguished guests. Let me brief you up about these awards. As you probably all of you have heard the name of Mr. Sharu S. Rangnekar, who was a chemical engineer from Mumbai University with a Master of Business Administration degree from USA. He started his management career in 1951, worked in several multinationals till he took early retirement from Serle, India, as the managing director at the end of 1978. Thereafter, he taught as visiting faculty at Tata Institute of Social Sciences and Management Institutes attached to Mumbai University. He has been a popular lecturer all over and a very famous writer. Many of us have gone through his famous books in the wonderland of Indian managers, in the world of corporate managers, and how to learn management from your wife. He has written so many books, lot of books in management. And I remember that in our earlier days when we joined NTPC, I joined NTPC. Girish Surdev is also here to attend this program. I welcome him. So we were told that please go through these books. So I believe that most of the HR managers today have at some stage or the other have definitely gone through these books. His books have been translated in Marathi, Hindi, Gujarati, Bengali, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and Kannada. He was President Emeritus with Indian Society for Training and Development and has contributed significantly towards the growth of ISTD. He is in fact one of the founding fathers of ISTD, and all of us are indebted to him. In order to recognize the immense contribution made by Professor Rangnekar, this L&D award has been instituted in his memory, and this lecture series has been being started to honor him. To begin with, at the outset, I would invite my National President, Dr. Nataraj Ray, for his welcome address. In fact, he was not well, and in the morning I had asked him whether he will join or not, despite his ill health. I'm extremely thankful to him that he has given us time and he is joining. Please welcome Dr. Nataraj Ray for his welcome address.
Yeah. Thank you, Joshi ji. Good evening, and friends. Respected chief guest today, Professor T.V. Rao sir, my own dear Birmani sir, all the past president of Emeritus, my OB members, Kurian Daniel ji, Salil Chatterjee ji, and RBPs, 4 RBPs, the chairman of the committee, Shravan Mukherjee ji, all the NC members, my national office staff, chapter chairman, chapter secretary, all the dignitaries who have joined today. And I welcome all of them, the great institute of ISTD, who is founded by one of the pillar of management pillar or guru, that is Sharu Rangnekar ji. I have met Sharu Rangnekar ji many occasions, many forum. I still remember when I first met in Bombay, my early age. He told me, Nataraj ji, please read my book. You are so young, read my book. After that, many occasions when I meet, he has given one book from his bag and told me, you read it. Sir, all your book I kept in my heart, core of my heart, your books, as long as alive. I am giving a very small incident. Few years back, we have a NetCon in Kolkata. I talked to sir, you have to come and give the keynote address. Sir told me, Rangnekar sir, Sharuji told me, yes, I will come. Late evening he came and he in the hotel. Morning I went and meet him. I brought him in the conference hall. He brought two bags full of book, almost 50 books. He brought this book for card and told me, Nataraji, you sold this book. I put in the books in the registration decks. First day, 50-60% books are sold. He asked me, why the money? I told him, sir, money kept with me. Well, okay. Next day, end of the all books sold. He called me, Nataraji, give me my money. I put all the money in an envelope and give his hand. And he smiled. Nataraji, this is not my money. This money is for you. It is my contribution to you as a NetCon. I am surprised. All the members of NetCon team in front of him, whatever the money, a sizable amount of money, even he has not touched the money. The same envelope give me and told me, Nataraji, you spend this money for the NetCon. This is my contribution. This is the Sharu Rangnekar ji. Even a year back, he has sent me 1 lakh rupees for ISTD. The person like them, they send me 1 lakh rupees for ISTD for his contribution. He has written in the letter, this is my contribution, ISTD, keep it for ISTD goodwill, ISTD's activities. Sir, I never forget this. Your contribution for nurturing the ISTD, make the ISTD today this a banyan tree. Whenever you are there, sir, you bless ISTD, bless us, and give your blessings all the ISTDian to make a heart like you for the contribution of any way, any forms to ISTD. I have no other speak in this matter. When I heard his name, when he see all his book in ISTD, I see his photographs in the ISTD, in the President of Emeritus. I am proud that I am associated Sharuji, who is a ISTD blood in the last breath of his career. Anytime I called him, any moment, he told me, okay, I'll be there. Don't worry. What I used to do. This is the Sharuji. I never forget. I never forget. I always, from my core heart, I tell you, sir, you blessed us, and ISTD will be the one of the right way, at your right path. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. I also thank you, the Madam Shatiji, who has also been part of the ISTD now. His contribution to the ISTD is enormous. And this time, we have selected for the first Sharu Rangnekar award. And Shatiji, we welcome. You are part of my ISTD. We work together where you are. And thank you all the members who have joined there. My gratitude to Rausap, Professor Rausap. When I asked him, he told me, Sharuji, I will be there. A single word, he told me, the Sharuji, I will be there. Birmani sir, Sharuji, I'll be there. Every past president has enormous experience with Sharuji. And Sharuji is there. We are there. ISTD there. Sir, your blessing always with us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, President. Due to some glitch, Professor Virmani is not able to join. I'm trying to help him out. So shall we wait for a minute? I'll request the audience to please bear with us and
proceed for Professor TV Rao memorial lecture.
हैं तो टीवी राव जी से start करा दें?
Yeah, memorial lecture.
Yeah, so I think meanwhile, while he joins, and today's chief guest, Professor TV Rao, a very warm welcome, sir. Let me introduce Professor TV Rao. Dr. Rao is the chairman of TV Rao Learning Systems Private Limited. With over 42 years of extensive work in the field of HRD, Dr. Rao is one of the fathers of HRD in India. Dr. Rao and Dr. Uday Parikh introduced the concept of human resource development in India by starting the first HRD in R&D. He served as a professor at the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad from 1973 to 1994. He has been an adjunct professor since 1994. Dr. Rao was the L&T professor of HRD at XLRI Jamshedpur from 1983 to 1985. He is the founder and first president of the National HRD Network and the first honorary director of the Academy of HRD India. Please, Gurvinder, please mute if any sound is coming. And the first honorary director of the Academy of HRD India, he was also visiting faculty at the Indian School of Business, ISB Hyderabad, and was the HRD advisor to the Reserve Bank of India. Apart from his academic accomplishments, Dr. Rao had contributed in key nation building initiatives. He was part of the Administrative Reforms Commission to review the personal management practices for civil services. Dr. Rao overseas assignments included working as a consultant to UNESCO, Bangkok, USAID, Indonesia for the Ministry of Health, Indonesia, NERDA, Malaysia, FAO, Rome, and the Commonwealth Secretariat, London. Dr. Rao has authored or co-authored and edited over 60 books dealing with organizational behavior, HRD, education management, health and population management, entrepreneurship development, etc. He is a long list. In fact, when I did my PhD, I also used his instruments. So his contribution to the research also is enormous. So I welcome you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Joshi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr.
You may proceed,
Nataraj.
sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Joshi, Dr. Nataraj Ray, and all the members of the ISTD and all those who are responsible for me here. It's an honor in the name of Sharu Rangnekar ji to deliver his first memorial lecture. I met Sharu Rangnekar ji in 1969. Both he and Professor Ramaswamy, both of them came from Bombay to Delhi. We had a meeting in Ford Foundation building, and Dr. Uday Parikh, I just joined Uday Parikh in National Institute of Health Administration. He took me along, and I think a number of others were there. That whole afternoon we spent, they gave us a management game. That was my first exposure to a management game. And we had a lot of interesting kind of discussions. And at the end of it, I think the point made was that management game is one of the wonderful training techniques. And I think there'll be many more to come. And they have already started the Indian Society for Training and Development at Bombay. And this is the pre-initiation chapter of Delhi. That is what I was told. And it was a great opportunity and a great honor to have been associated with Dr. Rangnekar and also N.S. Ramaswamy. I kept meeting Sharuji once in a while, not too frequently as many of you may have had it. I was certainly an active member of ISTD, but whenever we attended conferences, and he used to be there. And we used to sometimes sit at the back and chat a few things about how the things are going at the zone. He has had a lot of impact on a lot of managers. I think, as you mentioned, I think his most often quoted book in the wonderland of managers. And also, I think his book on what one can learn from wives as managers, housewife as a manager. In fact, later I kept saying that mother is the first HRD manager and the best HRD manager. I think much before that, Sharu has written about what wonderful things one can learn in management from the way the lady of the house manages the entire thing. You can learn logistics, you can learn organizational behavior, you can learn HRM, you can learn planning, you can learn a whole lot of things. I think that is the greatness. I think Sharu used it to put in very simple terms a lot of the managerial thoughts and managerial doings and undoings in a very, I think sometimes in a funny way. I think R.K. Lakshman was his, in many ways, his companion, and I think used to have a lot of caricatures. I think these are all, they have all left memorable impressions on large number of people. I think he's also known for disseminating a lot of knowledge through his video cassettes, besides the books, lectures, and regular contribution to articles and so on. So it's a privilege and honor to give this talk. The theme that I'm going to talk about is on management education and the role of management education in corporate leadership, in developing corporate leadership. I'm not very sure if I'm going to delve too much about the past, but I certainly would like to talk about what needs to be done in future. I think at this point of time, there are very timely articles that have appeared in the last couple of weeks, actually. One of them was a very interesting article by the Dean of Harvard Business School, Shrikant Datar. I think many of you may have read it. It appeared in the Times of India in the editorial page, where he talked of, after he took over the dean, the way he reorganized, or he at least prompted Harvard Business School to relook at the curriculum using the technological changes, societal changes, the worldwide changes that are taking place. I think this was a great step that he had initiated. This indicated to me the need for revisiting on constant basis management education. This is point number one I would like to make. Point number two, yesterday I was listening to Dr. Govindarajan from Tuck University, who happened to lecture at, he was speaking from USA, I think, but addressing a group of people, almost about 200 and more of them from the Goa International Center. And one of the questions asked to him was, what does he think of management education? I happen to be Govindarajan's colleague at IIM Ahmedabad. In fact, both of us joined IIM more or less about the same time in the year 1973. Later, he was sent to Harvard, and I think he topped the Harvard Business School there. He came back, spent some time, and went back again, and always got Best Teacher awards. And his one of the recent books, articles he has written, besides reverse innovation, is on the 3-box theory. He talked extensively about it, and I want to draw some attention and implications for management education's future in India from his book, just picking up his concept. But most importantly, a question was asked to him yesterday, what do you think of management education? I think his response was, as I expected, very disappointing. I'm very disappointed with management education in India. And I think he went on to elaborate in a brief way, but I know what he actually meant. I think one of the points he made was management education in India is largely emulating the West. While India has phenomenal opportunity to discover its own management theories, formulate its own management theories. And I think one of the points he has made, which is worth noting at this point of time, is that he said that show me any Indian author or writer or researcher who is quoted extensively or made impact in the West. I'm not very sure if he's entirely right in this. It depends upon the way you look at impact. If you look at impact in B schools, he may be right. But if you say impact in culture, I think there is a lot of impact. And the impact need not be by only those people who are teaching in management schools or researching in management schools. I think the enormous impact a person like, let us say, Jaggi Vasudev, Sadhguru, has made in terms of creating the entire inner engineering. It's a wonderful book that he has written, wonderful series of programs. And I'm told he has about 9 million volunteers, out of whom a large number of them are in USA. He goes there every now and then. And I think he's teaching inner engineering, making an impact. And there are a lot of those. Same thing if you look at in the past, we have many gurus in India besides Sadhguru. Either you talk of Sri Sri or you talk of Baba Ramdev, or I think go back to several decades ago, Swami Vivekananda, and the kind of impact his Chicago speech has made. In fact, that is the beginning of, but unfortunately, B schools don't recognize these as lessons in leadership. Now, this is the most important point I like to make. I think our definition of leadership has to totally change. It is not what is taught in B schools, but it has got to be totally revisited. In fact, I would like to propose as a part of this lecture, since we are talking of the future of corporate leadership and role of management education, I would define the role of management education with 4 Ds. There are 4 Ds that management educators should focus upon. This is, first D is define. You need to define leadership. Second D is discover. Discover new avenues, new ways, new meaning, and so on of leadership. Third is to disseminate leadership. And fourth is to develop leadership. These are the 4 Ds for the future of management education to focus on. And when I talk of management education, I don't mean what is taught only in business schools for postgraduate students in management or for doctoral students and so on. They are certainly included as a part of the management education. But today, management education has extended outside the 4 walls of these institutions into the corporate rooms. Even board members are learning from B schools. The only thing is, board members are learning from B schools, not necessarily from Indian B schools, but from Harvard, Wharton, Michigan, and other kind of institutions. In fact, I think some of these B schools have come to India, and you all know that how Harvard Business School has set up their own management classroom, picking up one of the 5-star hotels in India and then recreated the whole kind of a thing. I think this is the kind of an impact that some of them have, but this is only a limited way of looking at. If we don't come up with our own definition of leadership, our own way of looking at leadership, I think we will continue to be subject to the kind of comment Dr. Govindarajan has made, that the Indian academia, Indian gurus have not had their impact. Now that is where I want to expand. I would also want to say, when I say define leadership, leadership, in a way, I think if you look at it, leadership today has become synonymous with management. Why I'm saying this, it is not pulling down management, it is boosting up, pulling up down leadership, it is boosting up management. In the olden days, we always said leaders are different from managers. Managers only manage once you have given the resources. Leaders lead. That is what I think we are talking of. But if you look at the literature that has appeared in the last 10 years, you will find people are saying everyone is a leader. There is a leader within you. Even Peter Drucker, towards the end of his own life, maintained that leader is one who manages himself or herself. So he identified leadership, managing self and contributing to the society. Anyone who contributes to the society, if you find that leader, then I think the management schools probably have a long way to go in accepting, I think, leaders as possibilities everywhere. You can find them in every corner. In the last couple of years, we have had many examples appearing of vegetable vendors becoming leaders, women becoming leaders, In fact, I think there is a video circulating from those who got Padma Awards by our Rashtrapati this week. Some of those who went to receive the Padma Awards, I think, are very, very interesting kind of people. 4 or 5 of them, the videos are getting circulated. They are definitely leaders. If they are not leaders, they wouldn't have been there. Ordinary people, I think the forest woman who has been called and so on. I think it is looking at this kind of a possibility. About 5 years ago, I ventured on this book called Effective People. And in this book, I started looking at defining an effective person. Now, to me, an effective person is a leader. I ultimately defined an effective person as one who looks constantly inward, tries to recognize his or her own potential and multiplies the potential and uses it to make a difference in the lives of others. I think this is the most important thing. I started saying that you discover your potential and make a difference in the lives of others. To my pleasant surprise, yesterday, Govindarajan defined a strategy. I mean, something which we call strategy is maximal use of your potential to achieve your goal. I think interesting kind of definition. That means everyone who thinks of inward using one's competencies and makes a difference in the lives of others is a leader. I am reminded of a very interesting book that came from University of Michigan, from where I think most of you know Dave Ulrich works, but this book came from somebody else who wrote The Leadership Engine. In this book, the author who worked for long years with GE maintains that leaders are those who have a point of view. It's very interesting. Leaders are those who have a point of view, a teachable point of view, and teach others to be leaders. Now, simply look at this definition. If you look at the definition, you can find many people around us who have a point of view. As I mentioned, I think like Sharu has written, I think a point of view exists in the housewife. A point of view exists today, even in a child, a millennial. If you look at your young child has a point of view. When a young child asks for freedom to play with your mobile phone, and you are saying, no, that is not meant for you. I think you have totally missed the point. The young child is asking to be creative, to be innovative, to do a whole lot of things. And we are saying that, no, this is not meant for you. In fact, Govindarajan made a very interesting comment yesterday. He said, India is a country of constraints. Of course, he also said it's a country of opportunities, but there are a lot of constraints, and most people look at the problems and then start to get disappointed. He said the interesting part of it is constraints are opportunities. When you have constraints, you can treat it as an opportunity to innovate. Innovations comes from constraints. And if India uses, like the way I defined an effective person, if India uses its own potential in terms of enabling every human being, we have so many millions of people, of whom I'm told about there are 400 and odd millions who are called as millennials. If we can release their energies to innovate and to make an impact, I think that our country will be totally in a different sphere. Why only 400 million millennials who are in this particular age group of 20 to 35? I'm told 2/3 of India's population is going to be in 20 to 35 age group, and they are the ones who are going to make a difference. And we should not expose them to organizations where they see organizations as constraints. They should be able to see organizations as opportunities. So the role of management education is therefore not merely to work with individuals to discover their potential, but also to work with corporations to create an environment where innovations can flourish, to create, I think, risk-taking ability, an ability to promote failures so that failures do not stop us from growing. Failures become, I think, stages of growth and so on. I think we also need to define, when I say the first D, define, we also need to define leadership in different sectors. Leadership in education means one thing. Leadership in health means another thing. Leadership in financial and banking institutions is totally a different kind of a thing. In oil sector, in renewable energy, if you look at any sector, I think leadership will have something unique to that sector and something common across the sectors. You can say innovation, empathy, gratitude, and ability to, I think ahead, talk ahead, work ahead, etc. These cut across sectors, but there are certain things which are sectoral. Management educators, unfortunately, have limited themselves to profit sector. There are a few B schools who have gone beyond the profit sector. For example, when IIM Ahmedabad was founded, Vikram Sarabhai resisted. Harvard Business School wanted it to be Indian Institute of Business Management. But Dr. Sarabhai said, no, I want it to be Indian Institute of Management because it is not only for business. We'll work in agriculture, we'll work in banking, we'll work in cooperatives, we'll work in education, we'll work in health, we'll work in all kinds of sectors. I think we have a long way to go. Institutions like IIM have started this. N.S. Ramaswamy has demonstrated, I think when he joined IIM Bangalore, in fact, I'm sure most of you remember, good friend of Sharu, used to be called as Bullock Cart Ramaswamy. And IIM Bangalore started off largely as a public sector oriented, rural development oriented organization. I still remember Ramaswamy walking into IIM Ahmedabad. In a corridor we met, and that was 1974. He said, I'm just taking over as the director of IIM Bangalore. Why don't you come? He still thought that I was at Udaipur, but I said, I've already joined Ahmedabad. He was not happy with that. He said that, look, all roads seem to lead to Ahmedabad only. He also visited NID and so on. I think these are all people who had broad kind of thinking. So was Sharu and so on. So I think it is number one role I would assign to management education is you need to broaden the definition of leadership, make and treat every single human being as a leader. Our entire orientation to HRD should change rather than treating human resources as measurable, visible, kind of tangible kind of assets. We should see human beings as intangible assets who can make a lot of things possible. This is the new definition that I would want to define. Second thing I have said is discover. We started doing something very interesting. Very recently, about 5 years ago, one of my colleagues, one of my good friend also, HRD, National HRD Network President at one time, most of you will know, Dr. Arvind Agarwal. He, after reading Warren Bennis' Crucibles of Leadership, he said that I want to find out what are the crucibles Indian leaders face. And we all settled down to study Indian HR leaders. We identified using a number of criteria about 30 HR leaders and started interviewing them. I think it is almost a 4 to 5 year project. Arvind has done a lot of work. He has interviewed about 25 of them, spending almost about 10 to 15 hours with each one of them across the last 3 to 4 years and written about 100 pages on each. Now, I'm mentioning this because I think the methodology we have adopted, once I think we have completed these 100-page stories of each of these 30 HR leaders, the next job was to condense it and highlight the crucibles. And after that, our next job was to analyze. And analysis, interviewing itself, Arvind says, is a great experience. And when I read these cases, I interviewed only 5 of them, 25 of them Arvind had interviewed. But it is such a learning experience talking to these HR leaders. Even as late as yesterday, I heard Dr. Anil Khandelwal talking about his own life story in one of the interviews. I think if you listen to that particular talk, it's a great eye opener. So I think when I say in terms of discovering, we need to discover new dimensions of leadership. And once we analyzed these 30 leaders, I started identifying crucible moments, started identifying what are the competencies these 30 HR leaders have. I think this is such a great learning experience. And this is what management education should do. Why only HR leaders? Why can't it be logistics managers? Why can't it be workmen? Why can't it be IR managers? Why can't it be union leaders and so on? I think if the moment you look at discovering leadership in different kind of sectors and expanding this field, you are already into a vast kind of a thing. There is no other country than India which can serve as a great laboratory for any future researches on leadership. Unfortunately,
Sir, please unmute yourself. Professor Rao. Sir, आप mute हो गए हैं. Please unmute yourself, sir. Sir, अभी नहीं.
I think some of you have muted me. I'm not even touching mine.
Yeah,
So
sometimes,
maybe
yeah.
when
It's
the
okay.
noise comes, you may have muted. That is fine. It's okay. Uh, Going back to the point I was making, it is such a great experience to do the case studies. I've done another thing about 10 years ago. I'm sure most of you know, we are doing 360-degree feedback. By now, we have done about 25,000 senior executives, top level leaders in India, and rated by each one by 10, that is about 2.5 lakhs of people. So about 10 years ago, I picked up about 8,000 of them, arranged their 360 feedback in descending order, identified 300 of these leaders, and wrote letters to them saying that I think you seem to have made a great impact. We now don't want to look at your 360 feedback, but we want to document your own life. And when we documented about 100 managers, their actual stories, there are a lot of interesting lessons to learn from them. One of them is they're all hardcore networkers. Second thing we discovered was they are continuous learners. Like that, about 11 characteristics I identified, which is given in a book written by me along with Charu Sharma, who lives in Delhi, called as 100 Managers in Action. I'm mentioning this as an example of discovering. We have to constantly discover. Since you have put a question mark there, what is the past? I think the past certainly has been glorious in our country. There were great contributions. JBP Sinha made contributions on nurturing task leadership. Abad Ahmed made contributions on passion for excellence. Uday Parikh made contributions in terms of institution building as a new method of leadership. In fact, he titled his book Beyond Management. More than leadership, institution building is required. Role efficacy is a wonderful concept he came up with. Development leaders is a concept by Prag Mehta and so on. Dharani has contributed. Professor Veermani looked at entire training systems and so on. So if you look at, we have had glorious past, but what is missing now is, I think, the same zeal with which some of these people work to discover and delineate new understanding about leadership using case study methodology, using 360-degree feedback, using management games, using even, I think, traditional systems like performance appraisal and things of that kind. That is the second thing I would recommend the management education to do. The third thing I would strongly recommend management educators to do is to disseminate. We are very poor at disseminating. Why should the dissemination only be limited to Isha Foundation or some of the spiritual groups? Can we also discover? But if you have to disseminate, you have something to discover. This is where I think most B schools, I think they should totally revisit their curriculum. First, they should stop. They should stop learning only from West, because we have learned enough from them. There can't be any better contribution than those of Maslow, Peter Drucker, or Henry Mintzberg, Kurt Lewin. I think wonderful lessons they have learned, and their lessons are for lasting forever. But they have given us that kind of a equipment with which we can discover our own Indian leadership methodologies. What Indian leadership mean? Because there is a difference between the West and East. West is largely systems driven. Systems manage people. Systems provide leadership. In India, people driven. People provide leadership. People are leaders, not merely those who follow. In fact, sometimes you have to break the rules in order to become a leader. You have to think differently. You have to take a lot of risks and so on. This is where I would strongly recommend the future of management education for corporate sector to be discover more. You need to discover your own self. And then the last one I want to say is disseminate like Sharu has done. I think I still remember at one point of time, like Dr. Nataraj Ray was narrating that, and I think beautifully he narrated, Sharu ji wanted the money to be given to him. And after he got the money, he then donated it to the ISTD. Now, I used to hear comments that Sharu Rangnekar ji is coming. He is going to be coming with a bunch of books and videos, and be prepared to buy them. That is what used to be the thing. Sometimes it is said in a positive way, sometimes in a negative way. In the last 20 to 30 years, I discovered what a wonderful thing for a professor or a manager or a leader if he goes to a conference and wants people to read his book. In fact, nowadays I insist, many times when I give webinars, I send out a small note and tell people, read this note, then only I will talk. Because people have given up the habit of reading. If you don't read, if you only want to listen, you can only get only small part of the knowledge. You better read. I think this is where dissemination becomes important. I think management educators should disseminate through videos. Some of you may have seen, I've started a channel, TV Rao channel, in which I have written each book I take, and then I give a series of lectures, short lectures. That is what Sharu has shown us the way. Books like Sharu has written, give talks, and also initiate a lot of curricular changes. And last point I'll make, and then I'll close here. I think we need to discover new methods of developing leaders everywhere. In the past, we thought leaders can be developed only in the classrooms. True, you can create a good amount of understanding about leadership, but that understanding can only become a thought leadership or a talk leadership, not a act leadership. If you have to make people to act, skills are required. Now, therefore, building leadership requires a lot of fieldwork. In fact, many of you may not like it. If by chance you happen to be a management teacher, I would say half the time you should be in the field. You should not be teaching students in the classroom more than 50% of your time. Now, if you are teaching 50% of your time, just for your information, for managers, I'll tell you, 50% of the time teaching means in most B schools, it is only about 70 to 80 hours out of 2,400 hours available in a year. You have to teach only 70 to 80 hours. Some of them, in fact, have only hours of teaching. I think, sorry, you have to change this outlook and say you have 2,000 hours available in a year. Every day matters. Management educators should redefine their curriculum, look at, I think, the way teaching is taken, the way teaching is counted by the number of hours taught. But I think it should start counting from number of leaders you developed, number of people for whom you made a difference, and so on. I think if you can go that particular way, we are well on our way to build a beautiful future for our country. I think people like Sharu Rangnekar, Dharnisana, and Veermani, and many of you who are present in this audience have done your bit and then have shown us quite a bit of a way. And I hope those who are listening to this talk or who will listen to this, if ISTD makes it available, will start totally re-looking at their curriculum, reorient their entire management education, and take new steps, create India as a country of leadership, not only future leadership, I think for time to come. Then I think nobody can point anything, and they are not going to say India missed an opportunity. We are a great opportunity. We have great leadership all around, but I think we will have to overcome the constraints and redefine, rediscover, reorient, and relaunch our leadership program in management education, in management schools, as well as in the corporate sector. I want to thank all of you. I feel particularly privileged to have Swatiji here, participating all the way from California. And I want to thank ISTD. This is a great thing that you have done. For me, it is very sentimental. As I mentioned, I happened to be in the first meeting organized by Sharu Rangnekar and NS Ramaswamy in Ford Foundation building in the year 1969. Wonderful, and all the best, and thank you very much. Keep the memory on.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for a very, very illuminating and thought-provoking speech. You had really redefined leadership by saying that 4Ds: define, discover, disseminate, and develop. These are very, very important words, and I hope all those who are sitting here will be really thinking about it, that how to go about it in future. So again, thank you very much for defining or redefining human resource as an intangible asset. All our management has been defining it as a measurable. Every time we measure the performance of individuals. So are we making them robots or machines? Human is a human and has tremendous potential. So all your words today and whatever you have said, sharing the memories of Sharu Rangnekar, and then giving a way forward for all of us who are here, sir. We are indeed grateful to you for the wonderful speech. Now, I would like to welcome Professor Emeritus B.R. Virmani for his lecture, which will be sharing the contribution of Sharu Rangnekar ji to the field of L&D. Let me introduce Professor B.R. Virmani. He is the founder chairman, Center for Organization Research and Development in Management, Hyderabad. He was Dean and IPCL Chair, Professor of Strategic Management at the Administrative Staff College, ASCI, as we know. He was visiting fellow at the Manchester Business School, UK, and senior research fellow at the Friedrich Ebert Institute, Bonn, Germany. He has been a member of the Resources Faculty for Programs of the Asia and Pacific Development Administration Center, Kuala Lumpur, Consortium for Oil Training, Baghdad, Asian Productivity Organization, APO, Singapore, and the Dubai Institute of Business Management, among others. He has been conferred the fellowship from IMA, ISTD, and NIPM. ISTD confirmed the position of President Emeritus to him. So I welcome you, sir, for your speech.
Well, thank you, Dr. Joshi. It's my honor. ISTD is in my blood. I have been
Indeed, sir. Indeed, sir.
member, I think we had convention, ISTD convention in 76 in Administrative Staff College. And then I became member of the ISTD. Since then, I've been closely associated, and I was editor of the journal, looked after the educational diploma program of ISTD, all the position ISTD I've had. So I always say ISTD is in my blood. I am more for ISTD than for any other organization, and I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm come after Mr. T.V. Rao, as I could hear him, and I always enjoyed hearing him, and especially he talked about the leadership. I always wonder what is leadership, and found that it is very situational, because I worked in industry, an academic institution in America and in England and in India, and I found it very situational. I have to be dictatorial sometime democratic, very, very situational. And I tend to agree with Mr. Rao, and I always enjoy listening to him. We are close friends, and it's my honor to listen to him. Now, coming to my philosopher, friend, and guide, Sharu Rangnekar. My association with him is very, very old. When I joined the organization after my studies, returned from America, joined the organization, then I was going through the old files, and I heard that one Mr. Rangnekar had done incentive schemes in our various units of the company. So I heard about one Mr. Rangnekar involved in our organization. Before I joined them, I read all the incentive schemes, studied those, and saw the operation of those schemes in our units. And then I forgot about it. Then in ISTD, I happened to meet him. He used to bring his books in the ISTD, and very interesting books. And I bought some books also at that time of Sharu in some of the convention of ISTD. And then I happened to meet him in ISTD, and I told him that in my company where I work, one Mr. Rangnekar had done some incentive scheme. Was he related to you? I asked him, maybe your brother, cousin, or somebody. He said, no, that was me, the same. I was the one, Sharu Rangnekar, who went to your companies and developed the incentive schemes. He used to work with some organization of industrial engineers, and that was my first introduction to Sharu Rangnekar. And then we became close. I used to talk to him and all that. And he was in Indian Aluminium company as general manager at that time. And I was somehow associated with Aluminium Corporation in USA. So I mentioned to him, so we became very close with Sharu. And then the government recommended a committee of 2 people who visit some of the new management institutes coming up in all parts of the country. And they said this 2-member committee, if you agree, both of you, then you can join together on behalf of the government. You visit those and recommend whether they should be recognized and all that through UGC. So I had the opportunity of very closely working with Sharu, and we became rather, he was much senior to me. I had a great respect for him, but we became very close together, and we were always in touch. So that was my introduction to Sharu. Now, Sharu was in a way a genius, but always he used to keep his books there, and I had read some of his books, and I always felt that he has contributed so much to the profession through his books. And of course, in Air India, when I traveled, I read some of his writing, especially which Mr. Rao mentioned about the wife, etc. And very humorous writing Sharu used to have. And he, as a person also, he was very humorous person. My last meeting with him was, we had invited him to Hyderabad to help the Institute of Management Consultants of India. And they are having some chapters in Hyderabad also. So we invited him to Hyderabad through that institute. And that was my last meeting, or I think 4 years or some 4 or 5 years ago. And we had a long chat and we had dinner together, etc. So a great person, very humorous person. And he used to say, which Mr. Rao also mentioned, that the kind of thinking we have about the management education in India is absolutely not desirable. It is not what it should be. He always used to say in ISTD also that ISTD role should be that you create knowledge through research, then you disseminate that knowledge through training, and you apply that knowledge through consultancy. So he had a vision that ISTD should do all the 3 things. And he used to be very critical that ISTD has not done which they should be doing the way we had perceived, that they should create knowledge, they should disseminate knowledge. Research is a weak area in ISTD. Why don't you take up some research? And in fact, through his encouragement, I took up a number of research projects, and I got the money also with his advice through various institutions, book trusts of India and all that, for research and social science research, etc. I got a number of grants. So Sharu used to suggest, do this, do that, and we were close. And I miss him. I really miss him. I used to meet him more in the convention. Plus, in Hyderabad, he used to come frequently. And I was instrumental in extending invitation to him to visit Hyderabad, and we'll spend a lot of time together. Of course, I still feel, especially for ISTD, that he wanted very much that we create knowledge, we disseminate knowledge, we should apply knowledge through research, training, and consulting. And he said research is a weak area, and I'm sure ISTD can contribute a little more to research so that we really apply the vision of Sharu. It's a pleasure to be here and talk about Sharu. It reminds me of very nice time used to have with Sharu. We traveled together, we used to meet together, we had number of dinners together. He visited my house also in Hyderabad. So I do miss Sharu wherever you are. Our best wishes are you in some other world. Sharu may be there. And all the humor he may be sharing in some other world. Sharu, we do miss you in India. Thank you. Yes, over to Mr. Joshi.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for sharing your very, very interesting stories with Sharu Rangnekar ji. And of course, these experiences will definitely pave our path in future learnings because he has left a legacy. And that legacy must continue. We at ISTD will definitely look into it, that how the legacy of Sharu Rangnekar can be continued. Just now, I have read the messages shared by some of our colleagues who are sitting here, Mr. R.S. Dabas, Daniel Pachico, who is a diploma alumni, Deepak Bharara, Dr. Narendran, Sumit Chaudhary. In fact, Mr. Bharara has said that most of his books are not available in Amazon. And in fact, it is now the duty and responsibility of ISTD to get all those books which are out of print, to print them again and made it available to the authors, to those who are seeking knowledge of the past. Now is the time to share the, everyone sitting here must be awaiting for the announcement of the award. Let me call upon Mr. Shravan Mukherjee, Chairman of the award committee, to take over from now. Shravan.
Thank you, Joshi ji. Before I announce the name of the award winner, I have to share a couple of things. Number one is that ISTD decided this will be a recurring event. And every year in the month of November, since the 1st November is birthday, we'll have a memorial lecture. On that day, we'll announce that Sharu Memorial LND Award. And it will be at different cities. Initially, this time, it was planned for Mumbai, but because of the COVID and other things we are doing on the Zoom. If the situation improves, we'll have a physical event every year in the month of November. And we have a memorial lecture like the way we had from Mr. TV Rao, very meaningful, very insightful, very inspiring for all people who are in the LND sector. Second, whenever we had a condolence meeting after the unfortunate demise of Sharu Rangnekar ji, ISTD decided we should institute an award. And that was the thought came. And then ISTD decided that in the name of Sharu Rangnekar, we'll have a memorial award. So it is now Sharu Rangnekar Memorial LND Award, to recognize the people who are working in the LND domain only, not in broader HR domain or broader OBA domain, but only on the development domain, whoever working for community. What Professor T.B. Rao said, it could be not necessary in corporate, it could be anywhere, any sector, it could be. So this time we got 18 entries. Out of that, 1 entry came late, so that has been eliminated, not eligible to 17 entries. And all are very, very senior level people, director, very power sector, PSU, gas sector, executive director, freelancer, senior training L&D professionals, head of training center of banks, then management faculty at a senior professors level. So you can imagine the 17 number of twists, and some of them was around 40 pages, 50 pages down. So this award committee, we had me as a chairman, Professor Antil. He is from Gurgaon chapter. He is a co-chair. We have a Prem Singh Solanki from Udaipur, Dr. Appa Rao from Hyderabad. Then we have Alok Ghoshal from Jamshedpur, Professor Santosh Dhar from Indore. So we as a committee member, we thought we cannot do for the 17 people such a big documents. And we didn't complete by month of November to finish before everything. So we took the help of the senior people of the ISTD. We took the help of Rahul Bose from Calcutta, Professor Tyagarajan from Bangalore, Professor Kamath from Bombay, Professor Dr. Daniel from from Mumbai. They all help us to go through this all voluminous documents, all the details, and going page by page and create a document, what we call a profile. Then these senior people came in front of full committee of the award committee, and this invited member presented that profile. Then the committee member asked the question, some of the question whatever raised, they gone back, if they could not answer them, gone back to the people, asked them, and then complete that process, complete the profile and send to us. And then committee decided who are the people to be shortlisted. So out of the shortlisted, we did shortlist up to 4. Initially, we wanted to do 3, but we could not eliminate 1, so ultimately it came 4. This 4th entry gone to the jury. We had a jury meeting in the last Saturday, where me and Until, though we are present, but we never gave a comment because that 4th decision came from the committees, all of our decision. All are equally equivalent. So the jury had a tough time to decide out of the 4 whom to be selected. Because 4 people has selected somebody different. Somebody said Mr. X, Y, somebody said C, D, somebody said D, A, B. But we try to make it sure that it has to be consensus, not by the majority vote. So discussion gone to 1.5 hours, looking at everything, all the side, all the activity, all the profile, everything. The committee decided finally the award for this year, first year, Sharu Rangnekar Memorial L&D Award goes to Dr. Shanda Milan Khedekar from Nasik. Congratulations, Dr. Shanda Milan Khedekar, and all the people who help us, this award committee, to complete the task and doing thorough jobs and doing the justice for the people who have sent so much effort and to send this document and participating and taking this event as very seriously. We feel that it is not easy decision for the jury, because for us also we cannot make it 3 to 4 because we have to go to 4. And all of them has got some positive, some negative, something there. And then we looked as overall and what Sharu stand for, what Sharu worked for, what is his life contributed. Accordingly, we try to see who is the best person fulfill that dream. And that was our decision of the jury. And thank you, look forward, more meaningful, more contribution from all the youth you participated, be active in the ISTD activity.
Thank you, Shravanji, for this announcement, and heartiest congratulations to Sandhya ji for this achievement and being the first recipient of this award. Because of the COVID, this function may be delayed, and we will be announcing whenever the other awards or some function is being done, which we will be informing. And we come to the end of the program.
1 minute, 1 minute, Joshi. 1 minute, Joshi, 1 minute.
हाँ बताइए श्रावण जी, बोलिए, please.
Sorry,
Please.
This award, the award money of 1 lakh has been given by Rangnekar family, Sharu Rangnekar Trust. And Shati Adoni ji was a part of the jury, and she agreed to pay the award money to the winner of this award for minimum at least 10 to 15 years, and then it will decide. So thank you very much, Satiji, for giving the award. Money is not important, but being a part of this process is important.
Sir, I will, Swati ji is here. I will request Swati ji also to say a few words on this occasion.
So many thanks to each one of you, even through the chat room, sharing your memories of my father. It really does mean a lot to us, our family, and, just keeping his memory alive. He was a huge supporter of ISTD right from its inception, and really believed in its mission, and guided it for many years. So really, truly grateful that ISTD is taking such a role in keeping his memory alive. Many thanks to each one of you for sharing your memories and, keeping it alive for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining and sharing your views.
Joshi ji, one second.
Anandra ji, boliye sir. Boliye sir.
Joshi ji, the award will be given in IPTUDO conference, that is in April 2022 in the Bigyan Bhavan. So we'll inform.
मेरिडियन में दिए जाएंगे सर.
Meridian or Bigyan Bhavan होगा.
हाँ ठीक है सर, देख लेते हैं सर.
This is the one thing, and on behalf of ISTD, core of my mind, I thanks the Madam Shati ji for his immense help and in the jury, and also my thanks to the chairman Sabon Mukherjee and his team, Antil ji, Apparao ji, and others who have done all the awards, ISTD awards in time. And also these awards, they have worked very hard. So from my core heart, I thank the team, entire award committee led by Sabon Mukherjee. Thank you, Sabon ji, and also all the dignitaries who have joined today's meeting. Thank you, Joshi ji. Over to Joshi.
Thank you, President, for the vote of thanks and your blessings. I wish to thank everyone from my core of my heart, those who have joined this program and made it a grand success. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.